if DK can't go on Sunday? We did get an update from Mike McDonald earlier today.
Yeah, so he's got I think it's a minor MCL. Timeline not sure. Doesn't look like it's a long-term injury. And I know you guys know DK. We know DK. He's going to probably do anything humanly possible to be able to play in this game, I would imagine. And we'll assess it as the week kind of unfolds here.
Okay, so we'll assess it as the week kind of unfolds here. Let's just go with a hypothetical. DK can't go Sunday. Let's say he can't go on Sunday. What does the Seahawks offense do without him? How does it change without him?
He's the guy that pushes the ball down the field or that creates the yards down the field. He has 1 week with no reception over 20 yards. He's averaging 16 yards per reception. That's 13th in the league. He has the 4th longest reception this year. 11 receptions over 20 yards. That's called a big play. That's 1st in the league. He has 61 targets this year. That is 5th in the league. That's DK when it comes to the numbers. He clearly is the guy that pushes the safeties, that opens up the underneath stuff, and that Gino relies on. He has 61 targets. Lockett has 46, and JSN has 55. He's averaging 16 yards per clip. Tyler 12, JSN 8. Noah Fant is averaging 11. That's who he is when it comes to the numbers. Clearly, he's the guy that pushes them down the field. Now let's talk about him as the player and just his presence on the football field. People are always checking to see where DK is. No disrespect to Tyler or JSN. The first receiver they're looking for is DK to see where he is. They do a great job isolating DK on the backside of things. You see that touchdown before the half last week. He was isolated. You put everyone to the right, DK to the left. Let's see if we can take a shot there. If DK were not to be in the game, you lose that isolation factor, that one guy that you know can win one-on-one. And DK's winning one-on-one, and he still has things that he can get better at. You look at Tyler Lockett, JSN, and the rest of the game, you just don't have that without DK. So the game plan changes a little bit. I'm not saying these guys can't be successful. They can't push the ball down the field or have a bunch of completions, but I think it just looks different. You lose an element to that. So who would fill in if DK is unable to play? You got Bobo, you got Young, you got Chenault. So far this year, Bobo, 8 targets, 11 receptions on 123 snaps. You got Reek Young, 1 target, 0 receptions, 12 snaps. You got Chenault, 4 targets, 4 receptions on 32 snaps. You would have to go with Chenault. He's the only guy who's really had some playing time. He's got 2 seasons in Jacksonville, over 600 yards, and he has big play ability. You lose something. It's evident, and it's evident through the numbers, and when you look at him on film and see this as physical presence. Who would fill in? How would this offense look? I think you rely on the run a bit more. You're packing in with your tight ends. You still got some receivers who can get it done, but it looks different.
Okay, so Buffalo allowing 132 on the ground. Next question here. In New England, the Patriots all but eliminated the rush game for Seattle, and Seattle turned to 2 huge explosive days for DK Metcalf and JSN. I know it's not as simple to be like, oh, no problem, just turn to the run game. Like, yeah, I wish, right, that you could just, flip to winning in a different way. However, outside of wide receivers, is there pressure that now falls on Ken Walker?
I think it falls on the backfield and include the offensive linemen, just the guys in the box. You, when you lose a weapon that does something at a rate that no one else in your team can do, naturally you look inside and say, all right, how do we help the guys on the outside out? How do we help the receivers and tight ends out? Because you're not going to have the guy to stretch the field the way that DK does. I think you lean on the run a bit. But again, the game is going to tell you exactly how you can lean on the run and how often you can lean on the run. They still have capable receivers. This also creates opportunity. Maybe it creates opportunity for JSN to say, hey, don't trip. I got you. Put me on the outside a bit more and let's see what happens. Or for Lockett to say, this is why I go down. So I'm healthy and I can be available for these situations. 360 says, Bump, no way Bobo isn't the next man up. NFL is what have you done for me lately? What's the last thing you saw from Jake Bobo?
A drop.
A drop. Wide open, butt naked on a Sunday.
I think it's
drop.
his size that people go, oh, Bobo's big, and we like saying Jake Bobo.
Yeah, and then if you're replacing, you're trying to replace DK. You're not going to essentially ever be able to do it, but you're trying to find a guy who can do some of the things that DK can do. That's not Jake Bobo's game. He's more of a route runner, underneath, quick game type of dude. Maybe in the red zone, he gets the football. Not saying it can't be done and Bobo won't start, but to say there's no way, I think that's a bit aggressive.
This this sounds bad. I don't think DK would ever root against his team. There is part of me, though, that wonders if you're a wide receiver who's looking at a huge contract extension, you want your team to know what it looks like without you.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think there's part of me that's curious as to whether we feel the absence of DK. Because if you're going to pay him $30+ million, you want to know he's impacting your team. And look, if I'm looking at something like career-long touchdowns, right? Tyler Lockett has a kickoff return, 105 yards. He has receiving touchdowns that are over 60 yards, certainly. But DK is the one who's really taken off here in 2022, 2023, and obviously this year in 2024, where he has 2 of his 4 longest receiving touchdowns. There's a way that he takes the top off the defense that no other receiver on this team currently does, including Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, it's just physical capabilities. He is a big man, and that runs really fast. So naturally, you put him on routes that either are going to be shots like we've seen so far this year with him having the most 20+ yard receptions in the game, or that creates space for everyone else. That's what I think some people miss at times, is that routes affect everything that's going on. You can literally put DK on a go route just to clear things up for an underneath route. DK can look at the coverage and say, all right, I'm going to try to win one-on-one, but I'm probably not going to get this football. That corner is 6-7 yards off. His butt is to the sideline. He's going to open up and run. I'm going to run my tail off because I know I have this cross coming over from the other side that's going to open up that little gap right there, and have a running back that's swinging that way that's going to pull the flat defender. It's all connected. So you lose that if you don't have DK out there. His presence on plays where he's not getting the football still has a big influence on concepts.
All right, so let's talk about facing Buffalo's defense. I know that we're going to dive more into a preview, particularly on Thursday with the huddle, and obviously on Friday and what essentially becomes like a 4-hour pregame show. When I look at Buffalo, it's hard for me not to just automatically imagine their offense and Josh Allen and all the ways that they have beaten teams before. Do you feel confident still about this matchup without DK Metcalf? How much does his absence influence your outlook for this matchup?
I feel less confident about it, but I think if it's really all on the defense, man. I think Geno's going to be able, you know what we talked about Brock Purdy, right? Is he going to be able to lift up the play of everyone else around him? That's my main question when it comes to Brock Purdy. With Geno, I think he can lift up the play of everyone around him because he's going to make the right throws. He's going to put it on the right shoulder. It's going to be on time if he has time. He's that type of ball player. So, of course, I don't feel as confident. Like if we would have lost Rick Woolen this week going into the game, I would feel less confident because he's a starter.
Yeah.
Whenever a starter's not in there, you're going to lose something. They beat somebody out there, paying them to do a job. So, yeah, I still think it can be done. But, yeah, of course, less confident.